I got quite a few birthday presents from the metal release schedule this month.
Happy birthday to you.
Also, go see Longlegs. These are my favorite metal albums of July 2024, and we're starting with Wormed with Omegon. It's been 8 years since this tech death group out of Spain dropped the brain-melting Kriegzoo, and 6 since the unfortunate passing of incredibly talented drummer G. Calero. But with time often comes opportunity for reflection and evolution, and that definitely shines through on this long-awaited 4th record. The sci-fi concept continues, but the music has really stepped up the variety. V. Kazar steps in on the kit here, bringing just as much fury to the blast beats now alongside some pretty surprising pace changes that make this album stand out from the last few, namely some grooves that wouldn't be out of place for a Meshuggah. Between this and a few fresh touches to the vocals, once more this shows the band's continuing upward momentum and once more delivering what may end up being one of my favorites this year. Then we have Summoning the Lich with Under the Reviled Throne. The comeback Black Dahlia Murder album may be just around the corner, but this St. Louis band continues to make a case for being a new generation's heir to the throne.
Who's better suited to it, the High Towers with their scheming, or Viserys' first true heir?
With a very similar approach to melodic death metal, from riffs to vocals, I'm very excited to see these albums go head-to-head in some friendly competition, and frankly, this has a real chance of coming out on top. Packed with hooks and fantasy imagery, this is yet another list topper for me in a year overflowing with great death metal releases. United in Chaos was already an impressive debut, but this sophomore effort showed signs of a band still getting started.
When I left you, I was but the learner. Now I am the master.
Then we have Krallice with Inorganic Rites. This New York band has become one of the most prolific in the scene, with this being the 14th full-length album since their debut in 2008, and that's just shy of an album a year, and sometimes dropping 2 in 1. With that level of output, this could easily turn into a quantity over quality issue, but once again, not only does their take on black metal continue to be good, they still manage to surprise me. There's been a release here and there that became a bit too avant-garde and esoteric even for my taste, but this feels like the perfect fusion of complex songwriting, technical performances, and absolutely stunning synth atmosphere with a bit of an 80s twist. It's another incredible journey from a quartet of always incredible musicians. Then we have Wormwitch with Wormwitch. The 4th full-length from this British Columbian black and metal band formed out of the husk of several other punk and metal bands, and you can hear equal portions of all of those elements coming through in this bubbling cauldron of menace. I'm particularly fond of the DB-driven ragers like Bright and Poisonous, complete with Tom G. Warrior-esque maybe some Watain comparisons on this one as well. Fairly typical stuff, but another one with strong enough execution to warrant giving it a listen. Next up is Black Hole Deity with Profane Geometry. Featuring current and former members of Malignancy and Chaos Inception, this Alabama band gets technical to a borderline psychedelic degree. The chaotic guitar work and drumming often feel like a musical interpretation of a bad trip, disorienting to the point of nearly inducing nausea. And while at times this pushes the boundary of style over substance, I'd say that it still manages to keep my attention and offer plenty of memorable moments. Not to mention the brief 22-minute runtime makes the risk to reward ratio a much lower obstacle to overcome than if it were a more standard length. Then we have Werewolves with Die For Us. The Mad Australians return once more with little respite for another battering slice of full-tilt thrash-infused death metal. And once more I love the balance of humorous audio samples pulling from even the likes of Step Brothers, contrasted against battering performances that are anything but silly. The more I listen, the more I've noticed quite a bit of cattle decapitation to their style, but filtered through a slightly different energy. I maintain my feedback that cutting songs closer to 3 minutes and adding just a little bit more variety would turn an already ripping album into top tier, but as it stands, this will absolutely fuck your face.
Please don't.
Next up is Blind Girls with An Exit Exists. I'd very strongly recommend this Australian band to fans of early Converge. The very chaotic, Kohler-esque drumming and mathy guitar work just ooze of that sound, but also with some more mournful elements I hesitate to refer to as screamo, since in my experience the average person doesn't really understand what that actually is. Regardless, vocalist Sharni Brower's genuine pain and anguish comes through as if pouring directly from her amygdala. The record reportedly having been written directly in the wake of some very real abuse and trauma. Next up is Malconfort with Humanism. This UK experimental black metal band is named for a Deathspell Omega song, and while those influences are definitely present, I would compare them more to Oransi Pazuzu. There's this very minimalist approach to play, deeply utilizing a sense of negative space while engaging in all eclectic manner of songwriting, from elements of screamo to eerie jazz, over an extremely rewarding 30-minute runtime. Other names that come to mind are Bluthaus Nord and Imperial Triumphant in their more quietly plotting moments, but really these guys have a sound that is uniquely their own and refreshing in a year with so many bands that feel interchangeable to me. Then we have Art of Attrition with And It Will All End Forever. I'm trying to take any chance I can to highlight deathcore releases given just how weak I think the year has been for the genre overall, but this EP from the Canadian symphonic deathcore band is a must. Just 4 songs, but all with massive atmosphere, complex performances, and dynamic songwriting that I think rivals the likes of Lorna Shore and Shadow of Intent. I have spent plenty of time complaining about bands with a similar approach that feel like they're going for style over substance, but this is another example of one that actually puts the level of care into memorable songs that stand out from one another. I'd also slightly recommend Awaken Providence on a similar level, but I actually like this EP a bit more than that. I think the clean singing on the latter brought it down a bit for me, but you can check that one out as well. Then we have Piah Mater with Under the Shadow of a Foreign Sun. If you miss when Opeth was still heavy, boy oh boy is this Brazilian progressive death metal band for you. I've been covering them since 2014's Memories of an Existence, but now 10 years later they just keep getting stronger. All of the old Ackerfelty hallmarks are present and perfectly executed, but also alongside their own unique tricks. Brazilian folk music and jazz elements take us on some turns I'd compare more to the likes of Isan or Rivers of Nile, as with the saxophone section on Fallow Garden, and also some lovely violin on Terra Dois. Nice to hear bands carrying the torch for this sound while also putting their own twist on it. Yo, we still have more albums to go, including my favorite of the month, but if you're enjoying the video so far, be sure to hit the like button and comment below your own favorites from this month. It really helps me in the algorithm, and I genuinely enjoy replying and also just getting more recommendations that sometimes I check out. But next up we have True Black Dawn with Of Thick Circling Shadows. I always love being reminded of the story behind this Finnish black metal band's name. Formed in 1992 as simply Black Dawn, when threatened with legal action by a band of the same name, they came back making a clear statement as to which band was superior. And that fuck you attitude also comes through in the music for sure. Their third full length once more delivers on the traditions of other bands from that early era like Marduk and Satyricon, with reverb-soaked guitars and raspy snarls seeming to call from oblivion. Again, pretty typical stuff that black metal fans have heard many times before, but solid execution. Then we have Vulvodynia with Entabeni. More great deathcore this month with this South African band not skipping a beat with new vocalist Lwandile Prusent, sorry if I got that wrong, and frankly this is possibly the best that the performances and songwriting have been to date. Feeling a similar spooky vibe that I did from the last Carnifex record right down to the haunting organ intro, tracks like Randlord in particular are such a fun mix of groove, shred, and melodeath inspired hooks. Also really love Mamlambo with those chunkier guitar harmonics and slides, as well as the surprisingly melodic solo. And there's an even more impressive and downright epic one on the closing track, Generational Segregation. Hoping to see this new lineup go far, definitely a top deathcore release this year. Next up is Krypticy with The Non-Return. From the highly atmospheric opening going into the sudden deluge of blast beats on Infected Pharaoh, it was clear that this was going to be a fun ride. Getting elements of Vader, Deicide, Autopsy, and Morbid Angel, lots of fun shifting rhythms, the drums just really cook on this thing. Lots of great tracks here like Hypatia's Heresy, The Void, and the very appropriately titled UGH. And that incredible bass on the Water Street Butcher is just, chef's kiss again. Just delightfully vile death metal that loves to spit right in your big stupid face. Then we have Assemble the Chariots with Unyielding Night. As long as we're discussing good deathcore releases, we have yet another in this Finnish band. I was initially worried that this also would simply be another like Lorna Shore and Shadow of Intent clone, but the further you get in, the more you realize that they are so much more than that. Fusing all manner of symphonic metal from black and death to power metal. There are moments that feel like Septic Flesh, others like Dimmu Borgir, and still others like Rhapsody of Fire, and all delivered like a massive sci-fi epic. Most recommend As Was Seen by Augurers, Evermerk, Reaver's March, and Empress. Then we have Uprising with 3. Led by W of Waldgeflüster and drumming from Austin Lund of Panopticon, this German project continues to deliver on melancholic melodies somewhere between Inquisition and Tribulation, with maybe just a touch of Bathory's later material. What follows is an incredibly impassioned and mournful dirge for humanity driven by social and political themes. I know that many, myself included, often groan at the thought of more politics in a time where they seem almost inescapable, but I feel that, much like Panopticon, this is a great example of how to put the art first, to really complement the themes and create an enjoyable experience first, rather than just jamming platitudes down your throat. So put down your pitchforks and just allow yourself to drift away to sorrow. Then we have Sounding with You Can't Eat Your Cake and Have It Too. This Louisiana math grind, or new grind band as they have been referring to themselves, shattered my brain back in 2017 with Trepanation, and now they are back for more. 7 years ago I referred to them as pure anarchy in a bottle with a sound more violent and dissonant than 1,000 rusty Cybermen armed with barbed wire bats and switchblades. That description still stands. They still manage to pack every second with utter madness, and I also dig all the little puns nodding to some of my favorite classic albums. Great stuff, highly recommended to fans of Ed Gein, Psyopus, Botch, and Early Daughters. Then a late addition here, we have Powerwolf with Wake Up the Wicked. Honestly, for whatever reason, I was not initially enthralled in the singles leading up to the 9th or 10th album from this German power metal band, depending on how you count it. Interludium's technically a compilation, but I'm happy to say that tracks like Wake Up the Wicked and 1589 ended up being major growers while also only scratching the surface of what this record has to offer. So many infectious sing-along moments on this record, from the Celtic, almost Eluveidy-esque vibes of Heretic Hunters to the epic Joan of Arc. But my favorite track may go to Thunder Priest, which absolutely lives up to its ridiculous title with some raging D-beats. And then my favorite metal album of July 2024 goes to Vocalist with House of the Black Geminis. Another atmospheric opus from Colorado black metal musician Nas Alchemeth, also of Eratos, Bestia Arcana, and Nightbringer fame. The debut from this project remains among my favorite in the genre, right down to the album art, which I have on the shelf behind me. Ah, there it is. Look how beautiful that is. And in any case, Milano was also fantastic, but compositions only seem to get bigger with this third effort. The Nightmare now a black hole sucking your very soul from within. Vicious, snarling vocals and a blizzard of distortion signal the coming of demons from the other side. This is how you make 10+ minute songs that actually feel worthy of their length, and from the ensorceling production to the always spooky guitar leads, it's another masterpiece. Y'all check out this playlist for more of my favorite metal albums of 2024 by month, and also my favorite of the year so far, or check out this video for your latest recommendation. But that'll do it for now. Flight of Icarus signing off. I will see you in the trenches.